with the objective of coming up with a common set of international tax rules which will protect the tax base of a country and to provide increased clarity to taxpayers. The G20 countries actually requested Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, to come up with this base erosion profit shifting BEPS project. One of the important releases that happened on September 16th, which the OECD came up with reports, was on intangibles. Intangible has been a vexed issue across the globe and more so in India, and there is piling litigation on this issue all over. One of the important areas, for example, on intangible is an aspect also is about location savings, and location savings, marketing intangibles, assembled workforce, and so on. An important clarification or guidance on location saving, for example, that has come about, which would go a long way in probably addressing some part of litigation in India, is the fact that if there are adequately good comparables available locally, then those comparables would imbibe the location savings, and there is no further adjustment that would be required. An important element of intangible is really where the income has to be captured, and the thought has been that where the value is created. Now, it's very difficult to say exactly where the value is created, but the idea is to really move away from purely contractual obligations and legal ownership and to focus on where really the development, exploitation, maintenance, protection, and enhancement of the entire intangible happens. So who really performs and controls these functions, who actually uses utilizes the assets, and who controls and takes the risk, it becomes very important. What the guidance really says is that there has to be an adequate importance provided to this particular aspect, because it's not only about legal ownership and contractual relationship, and one has to go beyond that. Similarly, funding the intangible purely would not be regarded as a large contribution in the development of intangible. So some of this guidance would definitely help, but having said that, this is still in a draft form purely because the risk, the other action point on risk and capital, the OECD will do work, and I think in September 15, they'll come out with those kind of guidelines which will tie up with the guidelines that have been mentioned in regarding the intangibles. From an Indian context, it must be said that India has already been thinking about this issue and been analyzing this issue in the revenue audits that are happening. Also, there are two circulars which are on contract R&D, which actually gives more importance to the conduct and to the substance of the entire conduct of the parties and substance of the transaction, which is something what the BEPS release is talking about. So India is already implementing in that sense, and to that extent, India being a part of the G20 country is part of this particular project, and one could see a lot of these aspects being implemented in the local regulations once they are finalized. Now, how does it really help or impact the companies operating in India? Very clearly, when it comes to intangibles or even countries across the globe, the country of location would no longer be relevant, and the companies will have to relook at their operating structures to ensure that they not only adhere to the law but also have a clear operating structure which would be probably acceptable to the tax authorities. Thank you.